Hello, today we're going to take a look at Objective 5.3K. I am learning to add and subtract whole numbers with fractions. Our success criteria are: I can add and subtract fractions, I can put the fraction into the simplest form, I can use a fraction strip to solve, I can annotate my problem, I can recognize the whole unit and fractional parts, I can find the correct multiples for my denominator. Demonstration of learning will be given 4 problems. I will add and subtract whole numbers and fractions with 100% accuracy. Let's take a look at our academic vocabulary to add and subtract whole number and fractions. The words are add-in, common denominator, denominator, difference, equivalent fractions, hundredths, improper fraction, least common denominator, mixed number, numerator, simplify, sum, tenths, thousandths, and whole number. Jump right in. Our problem reads, Julius measured the growth of his tomato plant for 3 months. How much taller was Julius's tomato plant in June than it was in May? So I'm going to reread and annotate my problem at this time. Okay, in order for me to annotate the problem, I will take a look by annotating. In order for me to annotate, I'm going to first go through and circle the important things using my UPSC. So I'm looking to understand what it is the problem is asking me. The problem says Julius measured the growth of his tomato plants for 3 months. How much taller was Julius' tomato plant in June than it was in May? So I'm looking because my problem is talking about taller, and it's talking about in June than it was in May. So now that I know what it is that I'm looking for and I understand what the question is asking me, I'm going to come down and find how much the tomato plant was in May and in June, and this information is in my table. So I'm going to write my problem vertically so that I can have my equation, which would be 30 3/4 minus 7 1/3 equals my unknown. My plan is to subtract the amount in June from the amount of May. So I'm going to set my problem up so that I can begin my operation of subtraction. And subtraction, we know, uses the word or means finding the difference. The first thing I notice is that the problem has different denominators. So in order for me to find the correct denominator that they both have, I'm going to list my multiples for 3 and my multiples for 4. Okay, so when I list my multiples of 3, I have 3, 6, 9, 12, and 15, and I could go on. My multiples of 4 are 4, 8, 12, 16. I recognize that they both have the same number 12. So I'm going to use 12 as my least common multiple. So in my problem, now I'm going to convert 3/4 and find an equivalent fraction for it. So using the information from my table, I am going to put my whole number and then I'm going to make my 3/4 and find that using the number 12 as my denominator, and I know that 4 times 3 is 12, and whatever I multiply by the bottom, I must multiply by the top. So 3 times 3 is 9. I'm going to come down to 7 1/3 and do the same thing. I'm going to write my whole number, and I know that my denominator is going to be 12. 3 times 4 gives me 12. 4 times 1 is 4. Now that I have the same denominator, I can solve my problem by subtraction. So I am going to subtract 4 from 9, and that gives me 5. Bring down my denominator. Now I'm ready to subtract the whole numbers. 7 from 30 gives me 23. So this is the S part of my UPSC check. So to answer the question, how much taller was Julius's tomato plant in June than it was in May? The answer is 23 5/12. And I must include my unit from the table, which is centimeters. Now, let's go back to the learning intention and success criteria. Let's ask ourselves, were we able to add or subtract the whole number in fraction? Yes, we did subtract the fraction. Did we put the fraction into the simplest form? Yes, because 5/12 is in its simplest form because the numbers do not have any other factors other than 1. We did not use a fraction strip to solve this problem. However, there are problems that you will need to use a fraction strip, or you can use a fraction strip. Did I annotate my problem? Yes. Did I recognize the whole unit and fractional parts? Yes. And did I use the correct multiples for the denominator? Yes. With that, good luck on solving your problems.